Okay.
Okay. I think we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us today at the Poison Pen. I'm John Charles, and we're delighted to have with us two of our favorite local authors, Allison Brennan and Shane Gericke, who both of whom have new books out this month. If you're new to the Poison Pen, Allison and Shane are going to have a conversation. We've allowed some time at the end for any questions you would like to ask. Well, any question except Allison will not tell you why she was in Monaco and what she had to do with Interpol, so don't ask her about that. That's off the table. But other questions are welcome. Afterwards, we have copies of the author's books up front. They'll be happy to sign them for you. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Shane and Allison.
Thank you, John. John is the absolute best. I love coming here to the Poison Pen and talking and doing any events. First of all, Shane asked me to come and interview him for his new book, which is the first book in 10 years, correct?
It is.
Yeah. So I just to give you a little bit, because I'm sure most of you are Shane's friends, and just give you a little bit about myself. This is actually my 50th published novel. Yay.
Yeah.
And I am going to be having a party here in January. So look at the Poison Pen website. On January 25th, I am having a party here to celebrate my 20th anniversary of not marriage. That's 32 years. I've been married for 32 years, a lot longer, but 20 years of writing. So I'm sending out invitations, everything. So I'm just put it on the calendar, mark your calendar. But I am.
Oh, I'll be there.
I am thrilled to be here to talk about Shane's new book and then just chat about writing in general.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah, it works for me.
And then if you have questions, you can ask me. But first, so I did read. The nice thing about this book, first, it's beautifully, beautifully published, but it's also very short. So I literally read this book in 2 hours last night. It went so fast. One of the things, and we'll talk a little bit more about why you wrote this book and why you wrote this now. But one of the things I really, really loved about Shane was his dialogue. It just goes like this. It's as if you were there having a conversation with all of the characters. It was absolutely masterful.
Oh, thank you.
And also made
that.
the book go really smooth. I mean,
Yeah.
it flowed very, very well, and I absolutely love that. So that's why I could get through the book in 2 hours. That was great. Yes, I know. I wait until the last minute for everything. That is my life.
Oh, you and me both. So I read yours this week. So,
So Shane, tell us why now? Why 10 years after your last book?
well, it's by all rights. This is my coming out book. I am coming out of almost 10 years of being in a really dark well emotionally and creatively. My wife, 10 years ago, my wife Gerald died, her mother died, and her father died all within 1 year. So it just that, and then all the stuff that goes with that were just, it was too much. You know, having to sell the houses, having to deal with taking care of everybody as they got sick and died of cancer, heart disease, and then her father fell and broke all his ribs and then died of pneumonia. So a lot of death in a very short time does not lend itself really well to I think I'll write about death and murder today. So I kind of put it off, and then I just slipped into a funk. It wasn't a depression, but it was just I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I quit reading. I quit writing. I quit doing everything that I used to like to do. I just kind of existed. And that went on and on and on. And then the last year, all of a sudden, I opened up a James Lee Burke book. And I read a passage that just spoke to me. It was because his writing is so brilliant. Just the lines that he has, it's just like, I remember when I used to be able to do something like that. And then I opened up another one, and I saw another one, and it just hit me. And so all of a sudden, I was like, I want to write a book. I mean, it was like that. All that time, and then all of a sudden, it was like, here I am, ready to go.
Do you think that your photography helped jumpstart your creativity?
Very much. I'm also a landscape photographer, and I sell my photos online. I started getting into that. I mean, I've been a photographer my whole life, But it was once I moved out here from Chicago 3 years ago that I found this vast landscape of cool stuff that I could photograph. They're very different from Chicago landscapes. You know, that's Chicago with kind of variations of greens. Here you've got all these great cacti and trees and canyons and mountains, none of which exist in northern Illinois, which is flat from the lake all the way out to Iowa. It's literally it's as flat as this floor because it's cropland and it was destroyed by the glaciers, way back when, so it's completely flat. Moving out here, it just opened me up to a whole new way of looking at things. That's what sparked it originally, was just going out and shooting, because I didn't have to think about it. I just had an instinct to go out and shoot. I was like, you know what? I can do this. I've always wanted to set up an online photo store, and so I did. And so that was my first step back. And then a short time later is when I opened up those 2 James Lee Burke books again and started thinking about writing, and this book was the result. So this was my first book in 10 years after 5 traditional crime thrillers 20 years ago.
So one of the things that I was thinking as I was reading it, what was the first, when you were started to write this book, was it the character of Remy Broussard that started it, or was it just the overarching plot concept? I mean, how did you conceive of the idea of both back and forth in time? The book starts in 1955 and then ends in the present day. And so what was the spark? What was the spark in the story? What started it?
The real spark was my last book before I went on this 10-year hiatus was featured a explosion of an oil rig in the Gulf, and it was patterned after the Deepwater Horizon disaster. And so I had taken a deep dive into oil rigs and stuff like that. As authors, we really like to research and read things, both to make our work better and feel more real, and also because, at least for me, it's just fun to do. I was a reporter and newspaper editor for many years in Chicago before starting this career, and I've always loved to do the deep dive research. So I'd always been interested in that, so I figured, what if I set something like in the early years of the oil rig, offshore oil rig stuff, which I thought was utterly fascinating. Post-war America started, drilling oil big time and started going out into the Gulf for the first time. So who are these people who built these platforms, and how did they figure out where to drill and all that? So I thought of that, and then I thought, what if you started it off with an explosion, and these people were killed on the rig, and that's where Remy Broussard came from. Partly because everything down there is based in like Louisiana, Texas, that kind of area. But I thought that doing a kind of a Cajun rather than a Texan or an Oklahoman or somebody, a Cajun would be more fun.
Oh, yeah. And I loved the boys. His 2 sons are named Lucien and Marcus, and my sons are Luke and Mark. So I read that. I'm like, wait, whoa, that's a little creepy.
And that we must have been. That must be why I asked you to do this, because we have too many connections. We've got connection. We know each other a long time from the book circuit, and then also from from Facebook and other social media, and we've always been friends online. And I just thought, you know what, you moved here 5 years ago?
6.5 now.
Oh my God! Time
it's been a while.
Time is flying. I moved here from Chicago 3 years ago. The rest of my family moved out here in 1980. So after my wife and that side of the family all died, I finally said, you know what? I want to go be with family, rather than just stay there. And I have a lot of friends up there, but nothing beats family, especially mine, which is really close. We like to be together. We just never had a chance to do it all those years because Gerald, my wife, and I were in Chicago, and they were down here. And was perfect. It was perfectly fine, but now I'm by myself, so it's like, all right, let's head south.
Oh, I have no complaints. I absolutely think that. In fact, my son lives in Texas, and I have a daughter in New York, but I will never move to New York. Sorry, I'm not an East Coast person. I'm originally from California. I'm total West Coast.
Yeah.
Arizona is West Coast.
It is.
I love the Southwest. So
Same.
I'm never going to move east of the Mississippi. It's kind of where my drawing line is. But when my son gets married and have kids, I was like, what am I going to do? I have a daughter here with my grandson, and my son is 24 and actively seeking a wife and wants kids. And so I'm like, well, what's going to happen? They're going to be split. So I have to get, I want to get them all together.
Should we advertise for him on Facebook Live now?
He is 6'2". He has a very good job. He's a computer programmer, and he's
and it's a really nice family that he's from. So
if you go to my website or go to my social media on Facebook, you can see pictures of him. Unfortunately, he does not do social media, so he will not know I said this.
Well, you and I do a lot of social media, so we'll work it out for him.
Yeah. Anyway, you said something about research, which I was actually kind of laughing because I do a lot of research too.
I know you do.
Tons of research, and I promptly forget everything. Once I'm done with the book, I completely forget what I learned because my brain can only store so much information. It's almost like, okay, at the book, I edit it, it goes through copy edits, I go through page proofs, and as soon as it gets printed, it's like I hit delete, and it all leaves my brain. And so I was asked a question. I was doing a questionnaire for a book that I'd written like 3 books ago, and they're asking me something about the research. I'm like, or something I said, and I'm like going, well, I know it's true because it was true when I wrote it. I just don't remember why.
Yeah. Or sometimes you don't even remember, what are they talking about? Did I write that? Or you have a vague memory of, of the characters and everything from many books ago. Now, I only have 5, so for me, that's not an issue. With Allison with 50, that becomes an issue because you're always writing your current book and your next book, and you're plotting the book after that, and you're working on stuff. You're working on stuff in 3 dimensions.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and at some point, you can only remember 27 books ago. What was the title?
Oh, it's funny. I'm actually listening to this book on audio because I'm writing the 3rd book, and I wanted to make sure that I remembered, things because I do forget. And so I'm in the middle of writing the 3rd book, and I had this character that I had created. It was the assistant of this dead doctor, and it was the assistant. And in the book I'm writing, his name is Peter Angelus. I have to change it because in this book it's a woman. I'm like going, oh my gosh, I can't believe it, because it was just passing in this book where I mentioned the assistant, and it was she. And so I'm like going, okay, now I got to go back to the very beginning, find and replace. We'll just name her, Paula Angelus, whatever. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But I was like going, that's the thing. It's like because I am like multiple books. I have 2 books already in production before the book I'm writing now is going to come out. So
this is your 3rd book this year, or is this?
Yes, it's my
3rd book this year. Now, most authors, and this is why I admire her so much, besides the fact that she's really nice and willing to, interview me. She is a role model as a professional writer. People say, some authors say, well, I don't have the muse right now, or I just don't feel like it. Allison takes the view, as I do, that this is a profession. Doctors don't wait for the muse to treat you. They have to do it. When you come into the emergency room, as I've been a few times this year, they have to treat you, whether they feel like it or not, whether I didn't get enough sleep last night. As a writer, if you want to produce 1, 2, 3, however many books a year or in your career, you plant your behind down in the seat and you open up your file and you start writing. Even if you don't feel like it, even if you just hate the thought of, oh, my God, I don't want to do this, you do it. And then all of a sudden, 9 hours later, you've got, 2, 3, 4 chapters written. You do that every day, and you've got a book done in 3 months or whatever, at least for a first draft, and then you do your other work. But it's a commitment. It's a commitment to the reader that you're going to give them things they want to read on a regular basis.
Well, and you're used to that being a reporter. You had
Yeah.
deadlines, and so you had to write. Otherwise, you would not have had the job. They would have said, "We have people that are hungry that want to write."
That was it. Yeah.
And you have to produce. And the way I have always viewed writing is it is my job. It's what they pay me to do. When you're a professional writer, you get in advance. And then you have to meet your deadlines. The book is due then, and then you have copy edits due, and then you have page proofs due, and you stick to that. But the contract hopefully is going to be more than one book at a time.
Yeah.
And you have to treat it as a career. I remember when I first sold, like early in my career, and I was speaking to some group, I can't remember where it was, and somebody said, "Well, oh my gosh, you have 5 kids. How do you find time to write?" And I'm like going, no one ever asked me when I had 5 kids, how did I have time to work? Because I used to actually have a full-time out-of-the-house job in the California legislature. Nobody ever asked me, oh my gosh, how do you have time to go to work?
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
what? But this is the thing. Before I sold, I actually wrote at night after the kids went to bed because I was working. So I wrote it every night. I just cut out sleep because who really needs it?
Yeah.
Like
you can
sleep.
catch up on that in retirement.
Also, when I was in my 30s, it was like, oh, I could do this. I could do anything for a couple of years, But
Big cup of coffee at 10 p.m. That's all you need, right?
Yeah. And so I treated it. I wanted to be published, so I knew I had to put in the time. And once I sold and I quit my job as a huge leap of faith, I said, okay, this is my job. I have to write, and I have to treat it as a job. So that's what I did, and it's helped. I am a huge procrastinator, which means I write faster as my deadlines get closer, and it's the way I've always been. But hey, they get done.
Yes, and with my first and second books, the first book is easier because you have your entire life to write it. I mean, everything, because nobody has bought it yet, generally speaking, because they want to see a completed manuscript before, they say yes or no. So you have years and years and years to write it and refine it and everything, and then you sell it. In my case, I was published by Kensington, Pinnacle, crime novels, and my agent called me one day. She had the editor had just bought my first manuscript, so he called, and it was for me it was just a book, a one deal. So my agent called and said, "What's the rest of the series about?" I said, "What series?" He said, "The one they want to pay you to write." I said, Oh, that series? Yeah. I'm really busy right now. Let me get back to you tomorrow with my plot summaries. I had nothing. So I just went through the paper and said, murder, crime, murder, terrorist. Okay, that's a good crime. All right, so I wrote that up in just 2 paragraphs. And then I wrote up another one in 2 paragraphs and dreamed up titles for him and sent it off to the agent. He sent it to Kensington. They said, "Oh, this is great. Clearly you've been working on this for years." And I'm thinking, that's totally it, because I'm committed. I am yours. And that's how it all started. And that's where my 3-book deal came from, was you just made it up as you went along, which is newspaper work.
Yeah. Well, and you have the background, so that definitely helped.
I could actually envision a book from a single paragraph or a single sentence in a newspaper thing. For instance, one that just came up the other day, back in my where I lived in Naperville before I moved to here, there was a police and fire campus, public safety campus. There's a large, they call it Lake Osborne, but it's actually a large holding pond. And it's pretty deep because the campus runs off a lot of water. Fire department was doing training exercises, scuba diving in there looking for victims. And they found a car. There's a car at the bottom of the thing. It's been there for years. But when you're looking in holding ponds, Holding ponds are full of two things: dirt and goose poop. Tons of goose poop because the geese winter on the ice and they do their business, and then when the ice melt, the fireman told me this. It was something I wanted to include in one of the books. I couldn't figure out how to do it, and when the thaw hits, boom, all this goose stuff hits the lake. So everything's really murky, meaning you can't see more than a foot in front of your face. You're feeling around for the victims of a car crash or something. So this car went into the drink years earlier. They just found it, and they thought, oh, okay, that somebody just dumped this car years ago. No big deal. We'll use it as a training device. So they've been using it for a while as okay, get into the car, break the windows, get into the car, find the body. They found a body. They found human remains in the car that they've been diving on for years, and they just identified it as a missing person from 22 years ago in another suburb. So now they're trying to figure out what happened. This is all I need to write a full-page summary of a murder thing. But that's journalism training. And it's just how my mind works. You look at an idea and you say, okay, what if? And that's how this happened, was the Deepwater Horizon. Just that it blew up, and there are a lot of tragic human stories, and it's the humanness that attracts me. It's not the body count or anything. Yeah, you kill people in murder things, but to me, the killing is not the interesting part. It's the reactions to the killing, just how the families are shattered, how the cops are only human and they have to deal with so many bodies every day, how they react, stuff like that.
Well, I think that's why people read crime fiction. They want to find out. It's not, there is a bad thing happens, but then we figure out why and how it impacts. And one of the things that I always do in my stories is, how does the murder, if there is a murder, how does it impact the survivors?
Right.
And if it's not so much the survivors, how is it going to impact the first responders that are responding to the crime? Or how is it going to impact the detective who's investigating the crime, or the ME who is doing the autopsy? Because they're people, they're the everyday heroes that are dealing with tragedy. And it does impact them,
It affects them badly. I mean, there's a reason why career cops can get very bitter and dark, because they see so much tragedy. In a big city, they see it every day. Not so much in a small town. That's a different kind of writing. But my stuff is set in big cities or big suburbs of big cities. So I have room to play with a serial killer or whatever. But this was set in just a teensy little town in, near the Gulf in Louisiana, down in Cajun country, and it was an utterly fascinating little thing. But the first responders, if you will, in my book, which are quite different from police, they're deep sea treasure hunters in a submersible looking for shipwrecks filled with gold. And these are actual people who do this for a living, and I find them utterly fascinating.
I will never go that far under the water. I guarantee you that. I don't care
me
how
neither.
much gold is under the ocean floor. I am not doing it.
Same here. It's like, I am not getting in a submersible. I don't care how safe it is, and dropping 5,000 feet. It's like one little crack and it's all bye-bye.
Yeah. Well, you'd go pretty quickly, though.
Well, that's true. But I don't want to go quite yet.
It was funny when I was reading the book, and one of the cities was Thibodaux,
Yeah.
Louisiana.
Oh.
I actually know the former police chief.
You do? Oh, that's see
Talk
how
about
many
a small world.
see how many connections we have that I didn't even know about him.
He retired 15 years ago.
Okay, yeah, and that's funny. Well, the as Allison said, the book it's a short novel. you could classify it as a novella or even a long short story. But this was deliberate. I decided I wanted to write a story that I didn't care about the length, because traditional novels, to be commercial, need to be 80 to 100,000 words, more or less, depending on the publisher. I figured I'm going to write the story. I'm going to write it exactly the way I want. I'm not going to worry about word counts or anything like that. I'm just going to publish it. But I wanted to tell the story because this is my comeback novel. I wanted it to be the way I wanted it to be. So it came out to be about 32,000 words. So it's about a third of the size of, say, one of Allison's. But I kept it there because it told the story completely. It told the story of what I wanted to say without my saying, all right, now I've got to come up with backstories for 4 people. I've got to come up with a lot of descriptions of swamps and long explanations of how the little submersible works. I decided, for this one book, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let the story stay as it is and just let people have fun in a couple of days.
Yeah, well, and I think it is a novella length, and I think
Yeah.
that is fine, and it is a story about people.
Yes.
It's about people even more than the explosion.
Oh, yeah,
or
absolutely.
the discovery of what they discover in present
Right,
day.
yeah.
So, I'm not going to give any spoilers because it is very interesting how they get from the explosion that happened in the past, and then how they find debris in the modern day. So that is a very interesting part of the story. But it really is more about the people.
Yes, it's very people. It's people and emotions. It's how, like you were saying earlier, it's how people are reacting to a tragedy that happened much earlier in a family's life, but it's still there. The memories are still there, even if they're kind of distant. But with the sons and lost their father when they were, little boys, and grew up without dad around, and now the book is an allegory about me with everybody's death. It's about how I kind of died emotionally and drifted underwater for a long time, not really knowing which way to go, just kind of living. And then all of a sudden, with the help of friends and family, how I got reconnected to the world. So this is kind of an allegory for me that I wanted to write as the end of this particular journey for me. And now I'm back to work. I'm back in the business. Between photography, I've got other books coming up now that I'm starting to work on.
Hey, that was my next question.
Oh my God. Oh. No.
Do you see notes? I don't plot either. So.
Yeah, I don't either. So I never have notes. It's like then, but it also forces us to go back and reread a chapter. And say, okay, I'm in chapter 38. What did I say in 18 again? That because I know I need to make a reference back to it, because I don't have. Well, Jeffrey Deaver, who a lot of you probably know or have read, told me once that I said, "You're a plotter, right?" He says, "Oh, absolute plotter. I don't write anything without an outline, detailed outline." I said, "Oh yeah, I could do like a 5-page outline if I had to of what I was going to do." He said, "Oh, mine are 350 pages." He basically writes the story without any of the dialogue or any of the back and forth. But he writes an outline of the non-dialogue story, and it's like 300 pages of outline. And it tells, I said, "Why do you do that?" He said, "Because once I know the plot is set, and I know exactly what everybody's going to do, when they're going to do it, this lets me figure out when I'm going to jump to the next scene or whatever. Then I can go back and just follow the template that I built for myself and fill it in with people, emotions, whatever. That doesn't work for me at all.
Oh my God, I would.
I would totally die writing a 350-page outline of anything.
I have a fun story because I really don't plot, and people don't believe me. I was at Thriller Fest one year, and I had a workshop called No Plotters Allowed, and Andy Gross, who unfortunately passed away earlier this year.
Yeah, he did.
A great author. He had a workshop about how to plot a thriller, and we were competing against each other because I guess people either plot or don't plot. And we went out to dinner that night, and with a group of people, he goes, "You have to plot. You write thrillers, you write mysteries. You have to know who did it." I said, "Why? Why do I? If my cop does not know who did it, why do I have to know who did it? Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do actually have an idea of who the killer is, but why do I have to know?" And he goes, "Because you do." I said, "No, you don't." So fast forward a couple years. And he ended up leaving whatever publisher he was with, and he ended up with my editor at Minotaur, Kelly Ragland.
Oh, okay.
And so he was writing historical, was it historical or historical fiction?
Historical fiction.
Was it historical fiction?
Yeah.
Okay. So he was writing historical fiction set around World War II, and she was his editor. And we had both submitted our proposals for our next books. Mine was a page. It was basically, this is the story, and it was all set up. Because I know the setup of the book really, really well, but I don't know what happens after chapter 1. And so it was like 1 page, and he had turned in a 50-page detailed outline about everything, because he learned from James Patterson. He used to be James Patterson, one of his co-writers, his first co-writer. And James Patterson insists on having detailed outlines.
Yeah.
So Andy wrote this detailed outline, and we were talking, and Kelly said, how did you say? Got to be around, and I guess I might have outed this, is that Kelly said no, she didn't read his outline, and because she wanted to read the book. And he goes, "But you paid me for the outline." And he goes, "Well, yeah, because you turn in a proposal and then you get a part of your advance." And he goes, but how if you didn't read it, how do you know that the book is going to hold together? "Because you wrote a great book before, so I know you're going to write a great book again, and I want to be surprised at the ending." And I was like going, and I said, and he's like completely floored, did not understand how that is. And I totally understand that. But it was funny because at that particular thing, it was at BoucherCon in New Orleans, and I don't remember what year, but it was the year that the Giants were playing the Cardinals in the playoffs. And I'm a Giants fan, and she's a Cardinals fan, and we both had our phones in our purses down here. We were sitting next to each other watching the game while there was this dinner going on, because it was the playoffs and neither of us wanted to miss the game. And so we had our
I understand that.
there. It was fun.
In fact, why isn't your phone on the 49ers game right now? God.
Out of respect.
Oh, respect. I don't believe him.
So now, does anybody have any questions for Shane or me about either books or writing or publishing or anything?
Or baseball
Or baseball.
Yeah, Cubs made the playoffs.
I know, the Giants did not.
I know, but
next year.
You always do, so,
No, we don't always do. We haven't made the playoffs since 2016.
Well, you do more than Cubs do.
That's true.
That's for sure.
That's true.
Any questions from anyone? Yes, ma'am.
What other books are going to be coming out? What are your plans for the
Okay.
Started talking about it and then started talking about something else.
Yeah, I probably interrupted myself. So that happens when I get going. Okay. This one is done. The next group I'm doing is, because my first 3 books are 20 years old next year, I have the rights back to all my books, so I can do what I want with them. I'm going to re-edit and upgrade the trilogy, the crime trilogy, which is it's set in Naperville in the Chicago suburbs. It has a female protagonist, a rookie cop named Emily Thompson, and it's cops versus serial killers. I think that it's very good. My editor liked him enough to pay me for him, so
That's a plus.
yeah, I figure if publishers will pay you for stuff, readers will probably like it. But because it's 20 years old, I'm going to put it out next year with new covers, rewritten insides. I'm not changing the story. I'm not going to reinvent the whole thing, but I'm going to update. Like 20 years ago, cops used pagers, not cell phones, because cell phones were the big brick things they couldn't carry around. So if I just put this out as a reprint, people would look at it and go, what in the hell? Pagers? That's so, 1900s. So I'm going to update a lot of the technology and the way police do things now, which was different from 20 years ago. Put that out as a three book 20th anniversary edition. And then I'll start writing the fourth in that series. So the trilogy will be out, and then I'm going to write a new book for the fourth, and I'm going to restart the series.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I always liked the series, but I ran the last book I wrote was published 4 days after my wife died, a day after her funeral. So it was like I was in that, okay, I wrote this book. It's the best one I wrote of everything so far. I don't care anymore. It was that sort of thing. Now that I care again, that's why I want to go back and do that whole series. Because as I was writing the series, she had cancer the first time while I was writing the first book. And then she came back from that and was fine. And then she had, and then her cancer came back 13 years later as I was, doing my last book. And became terminal and she died. The book came out and I didn't care. So now is a good time, because I'm enthusiastic now, to go back and re-edit all that, put them back out, and then restart the series that I hoped would be, 20 books by now. A quarter of your output.
No, well, you had other things going on. So.
Yeah, just a few. Just a few. Oh, and did I mention the pulmonary embolism I had earlier this year that just about killed me? So that was another thing that I had written the first draft of this book, and then I had surgery on my foot. I got a pulmonary embolism out of that. Turned out to be 98% blockage of both lungs. And my sister took me to Mayo, ER, and Mayo, after they ran a CT, they said, if you'd come in 2 days from now, we could not help you. You would have died. It's that big. So we did emergency surgery, and I was just thinking, please let me live so I can do the rewrites. I wasn't thinking about living for life. I was like, I wrote this book, and I'm not going to waste it. So I am back, which is fun.
Did I see another hand back there? Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you. My background as well is in journalism.
Yeah.
I'm working on my first novel, and I'm really struggling with point of view.
Yeah.
I'm told I kind of switch, jump heads and things like that. Do you have both, or do you have any suggestions, to kind of hone that in, point of view of character?
Well, I'll tell you the easiest way to do it. Tell the story tell the scene from the character who that you choose to tell the scene, and then as you're writing it, you're in that character's head. So you only know what that character knows. You only feel what that character feels. So when you write the whole scene and then you go back and you're rereading it. So if you, in the course of that scene, you have character number 2 thinking something or feeling something, you go, aha, they can't, because I'm in John's point of view. And now all of a sudden Mary here is thinking that she's sad. No, she can't. She can look sad from John's point of view. She could start to cry, because he could observe that, but she can't think that she's sad, or she can't feel sad, if that makes sense. And sometimes the only way you can break out of that is read that scene out loud and and then on hard copy. I'm a big fan of hard copy.
And reading out loud.
And reading out loud. So read the scene out loud, and then as you're doing that, you circle the areas where I went into this other point of view here. I went into this other point of view here, and then you go back and edit. That is the best thing about computers, is that you could just go back and fix everything. But I would say that's the way to break yourself of that habit, and it'll take a little while. I mean, and there's also a difference between head hopping and changing point of view. Head hopping is like you go back and forth and you never know what point of view you're in. You don't want your reader to be confused. But when you change point of view, that's perfectly acceptable. You go from one character, and then a few pages later, you transition to another character. And then as long as you do it smoothly so the reader understands and you're not doing the back and forth, then that's how you do it smoothly. But until you get that as a writer, do one scene in one point of view, and then when you get to the next scene, if you want to change points of view, then it's really easy that way because you have a scene break.
Yeah, and that's to echo that, you stay in one character's head for whatever length of time you're writing that part of it. And if you have two people who are, say, talking back and forth, you are going to be switching points of view, but it'll be just omniscient. It's like you're the God view of you're standing over there watching them talk back and forth. But Mary will not be thinking something while John is talking, unless you make it clear to the reader that she's reacting to something he said. As long as you can keep, if you can stay in the head of your character when you're writing about that character, then a lot of your problems will disappear. You just don't want those other people to intrude, because this is your character's time to talk or to act or whatever. Don't let anyone else have that little spotlight. Give them their own spotlight. So, yeah, and journalism doesn't, it's funny that you would think that a lifetime in journalism would prepare you to write fiction. It doesn't. It prepares you to do a lot of things, like meeting deadlines, like knowing how to write concisely and clearly for an audience. But story management of a 400-word story, which is a fairly large newspaper story, did not prepare you to handle a 100,000-word story. So when you're writing, don't think of it as, oh my God, I've got a 10-mile hole to fill. Just think of it as, I've got 100 yards to fill today, and tomorrow I got another 100 yards to fill. And that also helps you keep you in the heads of the characters that you're talking, because you're not trying to think too far ahead. Yes.
For both of you, and you can choose which one.
Uh-oh.
Which you want to answer. Your favorite and least favorite. So you can choose favorite or least favorite part of the writing process.
My least favorite is copy edits, because copy edits feel like work. So I love writing. I love the writing process. I love the revision process. When I get my revision letter from my editor, I just get all these warm fuzzies. She's figured out what's wrong with the book, what's great with the book, and I get to make it even better. I love that. Then I get the copy edits where the copy editor reminds me that I am not a grammar expert. But it also feels tedious to me because I have to painstakingly go through, and they now do them digital. They will not do them on hard copy anymore.
Yeah.
Which apparently I just found out I'm in very good company. My editor told me, we were at BoucherCon a few months ago. Apparently me and Steve Barry were the last two authors they did paper copy edits for.
Really?
Because we were the only two that insisted on it until COVID. And then they said, oh, sorry, virus, we can't do paper copy edits anymore. And it's like, but then they never went back.
Yeah.
So they took it away and they never gave it back to me. And I think I'm a very big proponent of printing out everything. I do try to print out my page proofs now. Page proofs is like the final process where you read the book. It looks like the book, but it's just on a PDF. I do try to print that out because you will catch more errors on paper than you will on the computer screen.
Yes, you do.
So, but anyway, so the copy edits is my least favorite part of the process, other than the whole like marketing stuff like that, which I'm not very good at, which you are very good at.
I like the writing process. I love the revision process because for me, your first draft, even though I edit as I go along, your first draft is always the roughest. It's there. It's kind of like Route 66. It used to be really smooth and shiny, and now it's, kind of bumpy and roughy, and undrivable in some places, but you can fix it. You can get that. You can get on your bulldozer and go fix that Route 66 into a modern interstate with your words. So for me, the revision process, and that either before the editor notes or after, they're both good. And knowing that an editor has read your work, likes it enough to send you notes and say, this is great. Let's just fix these things and maybe tighten up here, maybe expand here. But the editor's not saying, start over. It's nice because you're working together then, and that part is fun. Copy edits I don't like for the same reason. I used to be a copy editor in the newspaper business, and it is tedious. I mean, you're checking somebody's work for mistakes. It's not the revisions to me are a feel-good process because you're all working for the same goal, which is to have a great book. Copy edits are somebody going like this. You're not good. You screwed this up. You screwed that up. You did this. Even if it's little stuff like suggest you use a period and not a semicolon, whatever. It's still it's like grade.
And they're not always right.
No, and they're not always right. So damn it, I use stat a lot. Restore the way I wanted it. I did that a lot in my first book. I wrote it that way for a reason. But so I don't like that little nagging that I get from the copy editors, even though I know it's really good for me because I used to do it to reporters, and it was good for them, and nobody likes it. It's just, it's one of those, eat your vegetables sort of thing, copy edits. Now, I like marketing and promotion, and I'm pretty good at it, but I'm a one-man band. I don't have a publishing team that does, marketing, and right now I don't have a marketing person that I hired independently to do a big campaign. When you're doing a book yourself, you're doing all the parts, or you're hiring professionals to do the parts. And at some point, you just run out of money in your budget for doing it. Whereas a big publisher has the resources, if they love your work, to do a lot of that for you. So I love talking to people. I like doing events like this. I can do my own advertising. I can do my own social medias, but it takes an enormous amount of time to do it well. And that's the part I don't like because we only have so many hours a day to do life. And I'd rather spend it on writing more books than writing advertising copy or, working on marketing sheets or things like that.
Well, that's why I don't do self-publishing because one, I'm not good at it, and two, my time is spent writing books and raising kids. But my youngest is 21 now, so.
Yeah. For this book, I chose to do independent self-publishing. For two reasons. One is I wanted it exactly the way I wanted it with nobody else saying you can't do that because I can do that if I'm the publisher. And so this book was a result. I couldn't sell this book to major New York publishing because I haven't written in 10 years and because this is too short for a commercial novel. Even if it's a specialty novel, it's special to me. I think the readers I've had, seemed to love the book. And for all the reasons you said, they liked that it was short. They liked the characters. They liked the family dynamics in it. They liked all that stuff. But New York Publishing has a standard, length standards. How are we going to put this on the shelves of a bookstore? This doesn't fit neatly into kind of the traditional categories. It's not a crime thriller. It's kind of a family thing, but it kind of isn't. It's too hard to sell as a traditional novel.
Well, that's kind of one of the benefits of self-publishing is that you can do something a little bit different, a little bit out of the box that isn't going to fit in, what New York Publishing is looking for.
Yeah.
So there's
I'll go back and forth. For these kind of weird little, fun novels that I want to do, self-publishing is great. For the traditional book, the series that I want to do, I want to go back to New York, back to traditional publishing, because they have a lot of strengths that I just can't duplicate. And so if you can go back and forth, that's the best of all worlds.
Well, it was great to be here to chat with you.
Ooh.
Hey, Allison,
Yeah,
before we wrap up, I'm sorry, but
that's okay.
you can say this if you want, but I really need Shane to say it because you guys started with baseball, but it's football season. Shane, can you say the Bears for me?
The Bears.
And Shane,
I have not lost my Chicago accent in my 3 years here, and it's like, all right, we're gonna go down there and get those guys, and we're gonna get some hot dogs and some you want Blatz? No, you don't want Blatz. You want Blue Ribbon. We'll get Blue Ribbon. We'll go see the Bears, and then we'll go to the Jewels after and get some hot dog stuff, and it'll be great. So, that's Chicago.
and
You can push anytime you want.
Shane, we do actually have an online question, just very quickly.
Wow.
Before we close out, can you give us just a really brief synopsis of your book? People are wanting to know a little bit more about it and what it's about, and if you could just give us a few sentences in terms of describing Ocean of Bones.
Oh, sure. Happy. Thank you, online, whoever you are. Ocean of Bones is a. I've never had to summarize it this succinctly. An oil rig worker back in the 50s dies on an oil rig explosion in the Gulf of Mexico. He is presumed dead. His family moves on. And then we switch to modern day, and a crew of treasure hunters finds a strange object on the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico. They have no idea what it is, and they say, okay, it's ours, it's treasure. We're going to bring it back to the lab and figure out what it is. And what they find inside just astounds them. Dun dun dun. So it's a story of the journey of that original oil man from death back to life, but life in a very different sense. And it's the action is in the family dynamics, and also these two crazy gold hunters who are stuck in this little submarine together, but they're very good friends. They just love giving each other crap, and it was a fun book to write. It really was. Just all the dialogue just kind of came because I imagined myself as these gold hunters. But those are the two big components of the book. Are the original man who died in an oil rig explosion in the Gulf, and then the treasure hunters who found this strange shiny object and brought it home and brought the contents home. And I can't say any more than that without giving away stuff. But that's the gist of the story.
Yeah, I hate summarizing my books.
I
too.
know, it's like It's basically you die and come home again.
That's probably the perfect note to end things on. Why don't we go ahead and give Allison and Shane a round of applause for being here today.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you for watching online.
If you give us a few minutes, I'm sure they'd be happy to sign books up at the table. We have their books at the back. If when you stand up, you can fold your chairs and put them over on this side, we'll get them out of your way. Thank you.
I'm sorry I can't sign books. You know, I'm shy.